Hey, this is Matt once again. What about to the video? There's another paid request, this time for the movie reviewer next door, who's known as Atatu Demon HD. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is the third of the Angel franchise, which technically there's four of them. But I believe the fourth one was kind of like a failed TV pilot, from what I understand. Now, the first Angel film I did quite like with Donna Wilkes. And I thought it was kind of a piece of kind of exploitation, little bit of a horror slasher vibe, and I thought it had a nice heart to it with a woman who was abandoned by her mother, was left alone, had to fend for herself, had to do certain things in order to do that. Student by day, hooker by night. I mean, that was the whole gimmick of it all. You did not need a franchise. You did not need a franchise. You did not need a series of films. Maybe if you had that Donna Wilkes connection as well as the other characters, so it felt more of a continuous journey, maybe it could work, but Angel 3, the final chapter, I was a bit on the second film, and Betsy Russell I thought was a very weak actress in that movie. That did have a bit more action, but at the same time there's a lot of other stuff lacking in it, including a certain personality. This one by, what was it, Tom DeSimone? I think it's from the same director who did Hell Night with Linda Blair, which I didn't mind Hell Night. This I thought was the weakest of the three. And I wasn't really a fan of this one either. I mean, really the only Angel film I liked was the first one. I perfectly get why this gets a 4.9 on IMDb. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought Mitzi Capture did fine as the lead. In fact, I think she did better than Betsy Russell. I think if Mitzi Rapture, that'd be a poor name. Mitzi Capture was in the second film, I think that would have been a better fit. Like Mitzi Capture, she would go on to be in the TV show Silk Stalkings, among other stuff. I think she did some Baywatch and other material. She felt more natural in this role compared to Betsy Russell in the second film, but neither of them were nearly as good as Donna Wilkes in the first. And this one felt like a episode of Silk Stalkings. It felt like, as some people said, it's trying to be a bit of a mystery. It felt, well, if you take the nudity out, it felt like a made for TV, like made for cable movie. Easily felt like a made for cable movie. Not quite enough for Cinemax. I mean, other than some few bits of nudity, there's really not a whole lot of exploitation or horror feel or anything of the sort. Mitzi Capture plays Angel. They don't follow the previous film where she wanted to be a lawyer. Now she doesn't want to be a lawyer anymore. Now she's a photographer. They don't ever explain that change of pace, that change of direction. They don't explain it. She works with a police officer to take some pictures. One day, she meets with her boss, Dick Miller, who should have been in the film more, sadly. I mean, Dick Miller's a good character actor, and she's talking to him, and he's like, go to his art gallery, and it has like 3 or so lines, and that's it. And Dick Miller, he was in Gremlins as the Billy's neighbor. He would come back in Gremlins 2 to be an ally. He's the one that took that flying gremlin and threw it into the cement. He was in a lot of stuff. He was one of the garbage men in The Burbs. He was in Explorers. Worked with Joe Dante a lot. He was in The Howling. Sally's passed away, but Dick Miller was one of those solid character actors. Like I said, just sadly he's not in the film much. In pretty much one scene. But he tells her to go to his art gallery. She does. She's taking pictures, and she knows this is a woman and realizes it's her mom from many, many, many years ago who abandoned her. Goes to find her. in LA, tracks her down. She mentions how it seemed like that should be much more of an emotional situation, much more of an emotional standoff. And they're trying to elicit emotion, but because you don't feel connection to the first movie, because everybody is a different actor, it loses any effect that could possibly have. So the emotion that felt genuine in the first movie just comes off as meh in this movie. And like I said, Mitzi Capture's not doing a bad job compared to. I thought Betsy Russell's acting was very stilted, very. Needed a lot of work in the second film. Here, like I said, Mitzi felt like she was more comfortable. She finds out she has a sister, and the mom tells her a bit about the sister. The lead leaves. Then she gets a phone call, and the mom says, "Hey, I know I just met you again today after, 14 or so years, however the hell it's been long, but I know it's the same day, but please go find that person that you never met, who's your sister. Please go find her." So they're going, man, you have nobody else to call but this one person who just you abandoned for over a decade and just told her she had a sister that same day. So the mom dies in a car bomb, and then the rest of the movie is her trying to find her sister and why her mom died in a car bomb, who did it, what was the reason for it. To help her out is this other friend that we've never seen before in the other films. The character's name is Spanky. Unless it's the Little Rascals, you should not call your character Spanky. And I recognize the actor's Mark Blankfield. Remember Robin Hood Men in Tights, the Mel Brooks film, and the blind guy Blinkton? That's this guy, Blinkton. I'm like, oh, okay. He's been in other stuff too. I think he was in some other Mel Brooks films, but I remember him as Blinkton in Robin Hood Men in Tights. It felt as if they wanted to do the character from the first two, who was the street performer, magician, but they could not get the actor, and then, they just made it a different character. This is a guy who's he's a comic relief. He drives a ice cream truck by day, and I thought it was a very kind of overzealous performance, and I don't know, I just didn't think it was as funny as the movie intended him to be. If some people liked him, that's cool. I thought he was kind of a little bit annoying at times. Richard Roundtree is the cop here, kind of like you had a cop Ozzie Davis in the second film, you had a cop in the first film. He appears a couple times. He doesn't really have much to do with the plot. Pretty much, she goes to the cops. He pops up like 3 or 4 times, including at the end when everything's done. Of course, Richard Roundtree was the original Shaft. And I don't know, it just felt like a waste of Richard Roundtree. They also get Spanky gets her to meet this other guy, and that other guy tries to be a love interest with our lead. And I didn't care about this love story. I didn't think they had much chemistry. I didn't give a rat's ass about the love story. It felt like the movie itself didn't give a rat's ass about the love story, because there's not a whole lot of development on it. It's more of Angel's going to be a hooker again, but that doesn't last too long. There's a sequence where a pimp tries to mess with her, and she easily fools the guy, saying, "Take off your clothes, get in the back." Okay. He doesn't think anything else is up, so then the girl kicks him out, and he gets pissed. Now you're thinking maybe this pimp's going to come back and bite her on the butt. No, I don't think we ever see that pimp again. And instead gets with the one guy who's going to be your love interest, and Spanky, to go into the adult film industry. and try to find her sister in that realm. Now, this is where the film was at its best, and I think you had potential here, and they did not capitalize it on at all. At all. What I mean by that is, from what I understand, the director of this film worked in the porn industry. And did you tell that he has a bit of a goof insight into it where you have the film within the film where these women are dressed in these goofy outfits and they're supposed to go raw, raw at each other and fight. And you see the director just get so frustrated. He's saying, she's on her ass, she's on her ass. And how the fuck do we hire these people? Like the director's just losing his mind. And the actress is complaining, oh, I broke a nail. So, you can work with a fake one. A fake one? A fake nail, lady. A fake nail. Oh my god, she wants a fake dick? Where am I going to find a fake dick? A fake nail. That was hilarious. That was sincerely funny. And I'm sitting there going, why wasn't more of the film in this arena? Why wasn't the film taking place more in this industry? Trying to be a satire take on the adult film industry. Or forget the Angel formula and just make a whole film about the goofy ups and downs satiric look at the adult film industry. And more scenes like this. Like the scene that was most memorable didn't involve Angel. She's just there in the background. It's some other actress and the director and... So that's what I find funny, is that the best part of the movie really had nothing to do with Angel. She's just a background extra in this movie, trying to get involved in this industry to try to find where her sister's at. Because her sister, I guess, is an actress in one of these parts of the film industry. And he found this all as a front for drugs, and the main villain is a female villain, Maud Adams, who was in some James Bond films like Octopussy. And then you have this other bad guy who are called non-Edward James Olmos. If you ever seen Edward James... If you see Edward James Olmos in TV shows like Miami Vice or early films, this felt like a much less talented Edward James Olmos. And that's what I mean. It doesn't really have much of that quirky exploitation flavor of characters like the first film did. And it did not nearly have the heart of the first film. It doesn't have even the action pieces that maybe get some gunfire. To me, it was kind of typical, but I guess at least there was something going on in the second film. So here you have, like I said, I called it a mystery, but we know early on that Maud Adams is the villain. There's not really any twists and turns to that. There's not really much in terms of action. There's a good stunt where non-Edward James Olmos gets hung on a hook, and there's a wide shot where the guy is for real way up high with this hook in his back, and you see just how far down he would fall if he did fall. That's a pretty good stunt. Hanging from the rafters. Then you get shot and you have a couple decent blood squibs. But that's really it, in this warehouse situation. If this was more of a fun satire, take a piss out of the adult film industry, I think it would have been much better. As it is, I mean, you do get some nudity in some of these adult films with the bazoongas. But other than that, I mean, I did credit the Mitzi Capture, I think, for the part she was given, for what the script she was given. Like I said, she felt more natural than Betsy Russell in the second film. But it's just really boring. It's just really dull. There's not a whole lot much happening that is really that memorable. Like I said, you get some actors like Dick Bill and Richard Roundtree, but they're very wasted. Spanky, I didn't really care for him as a comic relief. I much liked Roy Calhoun in the first movie as the aging cowboy. And that one, just the way it was shot in New York and the world it was encapsulating and trying to have a little bit of that sleaze. But then, again, the whole quirky personalities and the darker, almost horror plot and some. That's just much more of an interesting movie, interesting combination. And when you get to this, it felt as, okay, now we went to like mobsters in the second film, and now we went to a front for a drug operation, and I just might as well call them drug dealers. I don't know, it just felt very mundane in a way. It felt kind of meh. Like I said, when it was talking about the adult film industry, that seemed like truthful piece of business for the director. Other than that, I really don't know what there is to engage with. It's not that funny. It's not that exciting. It's not too violent. It's not too filled with nudity. There's some bits of nudity, of course, but I don't know. So yeah, it's not the worst movie ever, but 4.9, I perfectly understand why. I can't say I'm much of a fan of it. At best, I would give it 2 stars at most because of Mitzi Capture's performance, and I mean, it didn't seem as, well, nah, I can't say that. Well, I mean, the some of the adult film within the film, kind of the humor in that'd be the other star. Other than that, I can't think of much to recommend, at least to me. Especially when you have such a gluttony of movies to choose from. But I guess if you need to watch all the Angel films, be my guest. It did get a Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know. I think there's like a commentary, and that's pretty much it. I believe. Maybe there's interviews. I don't know. I don't care. I really don't. So, but it was like a 3-pack in Vinegar Syndrome, and then they did release them separately. So if you really are a diehard fan of these movies, you can get them on Vinegar Syndrome. Sometimes those releases do get on Amazon, so you always look on there as well. That's up to you. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.